So, yes. So I'm Ingurdis, a practitioner and student of Hermeticism for about over 10 years now. Done a lecture on Hermeticism here before, and obviously last week was the first reading of the Corpus Hermeticum. Um, so the translation I'm reading today is called the Hermetica, The Lost Wisdom of the Pharaohs by Timothy Freak and Peter Gandy. And I chose this translation because I feel that it is a far more digestible and easy to understand work concerning the Corpus Hermeticum. So last week we went through the first 3 chapters, which, just to kind of recap quickly for anyone who wasn't here last week, the first chapter was called The Prophecies of Hermes, which is the author, Hermes, was telling the reader about kind of predicting modern time, the relation between science and spirituality. And then the second chapter from that was the initiation into Hermes, which went over how Hermes came into this knowledge through like a divine vision. And then from that, the third one was kind of the very foundation of the philosophy of Hermeticism concerning God, the creator, the source, the all, etc., etc. So if you did miss the first reading, it is on YouTube, and you can give it a watch. It's very good. And so I'm going to get to it. So we are at chapter 4 now, and if you are reading along, that will be page 29 if you are following with the PDF. It's fine if you're not. So this chapter is called Contemplate Creation. In this chapter, Hermes teaches us how to see God by contemplating his creation. Ask God to flash a ray of his illumination into your awareness, giving you the power to grasp in thought his sublime being, for the invisible may only be seen with thoughts, which are themselves invisible. If you can't see thoughts, do you expect to see God? Look with your mind, however, and he will appear to you, manifesting himself without reservation throughout the whole universe, so that you may see his image with your eyes and hold it with your 2 hands. Do you think God is invisible? Don't say that. Nothing is more visible than God. He created all things so that through them you could see him. This is God's great heart, that he manifests himself in everything. Everything can be known, including the insubstantial. Just as mind is known through thoughts, so is God known through his creation. God is the all-encompassing author of eternity, weaving everything into the fabric of reality. Because creation is visible, we can see the Creator. And this is the purpose of his creation. Since he is always creating, he can always be seen. So we should think and marvel, and realize that we are blessed with knowledge of our Father. To know God's being, to contemplate him in thought, to see him with your eyes, to look at the exquisite order of the cosmos, the necessity which governs everything you perceive, the goodness of all that has been and that is coming to be. Look at matter filled full with life, and see God pulsating with all that he contains. Contemplate the cosmos as his ancient body, which is ever prime and new. See the planets circling in eternal time. See the spiritual fire of the heavens, turned to light by the sun, and shed his goodness upon the world. See the ever-changing moon, which governs birth, growth, and decay. See the constellation of the Bear, which never rises or sets, but stays ever a fixed point, an axle around which the circle of the zodiac revolves. See the comets, which are called prophet stars, for when some future fate awaits the world, they emerge for a few days from their invisible home below the circle of the sun. Who is it that maintains such exquisite order? The sun is the greatest god in the heavens, a king to whom all the others pay homage. Yet this mighty god humbly submits himself to have smaller stars circle around him. Who Who is it that obeys with awe? Each star travels its appointed range of space. Why don't all stars run the same course? Who is it who is assigned to each its place? The bear revolves around himself, and carries around him the whole cosmos. Who is it that has appointed this task? Who is it that fixed the earth, and confined the sea within its shores? Someone must be the maker and master of all this. It couldn't just happen. All order must be created. It is only which out of measure which is accidental. Yet even disorder is subject to the master, who has yet to impose order upon it. If only it were possible to grow wings and soar into the air, poised between heaven and earth. You would see the solid ground, the flowing rivers, the wandering air, the penetrating fire, circling stars, and the encompassing heavens. What joy to see all this, borne along by one impulse, to perceive the unmoved mover, moving in all that moves, he who is hidden, manifest through all his works. Consider for a moment how you were created in the womb. Think of that skillful workmanship, and look for the craftsman who made such a beautiful godlike image. Who traced the circles of your eyes? Who pierced your nostrils, ears, and mouth? Who stretched your sinew and tied them fast? Who built your bones and wrapped your flesh with skin? Who separated your fingers? Who flattened your feet? Who shaped your heart and hollowed your lungs? Who made your beauty visible and concealed your guts within? How many crafts have been employed, and how many works of art created to form one human being? Statues or portraits don't just happen without a sculptor or a painter. Has such a sublime work no creator? So, that is the 4th chapter of Contemplate Creation. Is there any thoughts or questions anyone has they would like to share?
Yes, I just wanted to comment that this reminds me a lot of something in Christianity called the watchmaker fallacy. Or maybe that's not what it's called, but maybe...
Yes. I would agree with you, yes, it's very much along those... It's very much related. It's very like... the argument is there must be a creator because this is how creation is. And this is a very typical, Hermetic view, and it blends very well within Christian philosophy and theology. So yeah, you're correct. I agree with that.
Yeah, I immediately started counting at the end there when he goes down the lists of body parts created, and of course there's 10, like the Sphirot. And I think that's something we'll notice a little more often in the Corpus, that, there's no explicit relation to Kabbalah, but oftentimes when things are mentioned in a list style, there will be 10 of them. I thought that was cool.
Yes.
But it might just be my own preoccupation.
Yeah. All things correspond.
I kind of like that, because it's like no matter where you go, the truth will remain the truth. So of course a lot of these mystical teachings are going to start syncing up because they all describe the same great mystical truth of the universe.
Yes, and that's a key component to hermeticism, and why it's such a you could say flexible philosophy, especially in terms when it comes to magic. If you want to adopt certain different practices, you can fill it in very well if you use hermeticism as kind of the backbone of your philosophy, because you can be like, well, this is just the different understanding of the same thing. It's very useful in a practical sense as well.
Yeah, that's correct.
Any more questions or thoughts? No? Okay. I will read now what the translators and authors of this certain book had to say about this chapter. And I quote, "When we look at the world only with our physical eyes, God is nowhere to be seen. But if we look with our thoughts, we see with spiritual understanding. Suddenly, God is everywhere. In this ecstatic state, everything we see and touch is known to be a part of God. And we understand that God's whole purpose in creating the world was so that through it, we could see him. The cosmos is his body, and we can come to know him by contemplating its extraordinary order and beauty. Hermes asks us to consider the constant revolutions of the stars in the night sky, the laws of fate, which he calls necessity, the goodness of everything that has happened and is happening. Could this all be so perfect without a supreme mind which maintains such exquisite order? Could it all just be happening accidentally? He reminds us of the marvel of our own birth, who created us in the womb, who perfectly crafted the individual details of our bodies. Statues and portraits don't just happen, they are sculpted and painted. Surely such a work of art as beautiful and complex as our own physical forms must be the work of a master craftsman. The modern view is that we are the creation of the laws of nature. Hermes would not disagree with this. He would simply ask, who decreed these laws? He is trying to return us to a childlike sense of awe in the face of the wonders of life. The world is a miracle, yet we take it for granted. If we take the time to reflect, it becomes obvious that we are surrounded by profound mysteries. The universe is a gigantic work of art, signed by an unknown master. Humble amazement is the requirement for coming to know God. So, yes, I couldn't put that any better myself. And that's a key component of Hermeticism, and you'll see this reflected more in this work, is that it's poetic, it's romantic. It tells you to look at the universe like a child looks at the world. Return to your child wonder, because that's where it's fun and interesting. The universe is so complex that it's beautiful. It's a great work of art. And to understand this work, we can come to a better understanding of the creator, the painter, the sculptor of said universe. We'll go on to the next chapter now, chapter 5. Yes, so this chapter, The Living Cosmos, 5th chapter, page 37. The Living Cosmos. In this chapter, Hermes outlines the essence of his philosophical ideas and paints the picture of the cosmos as a living being, teeming with life. The primal mind, which is life and light, being bisexual, gave birth to the mind of the cosmos. The primal mind is ever unmoving, eternal and changeless. Containing within it is this cosmic mind, which is inconceivable to the senses. The cosmos, which sense perceives, is a copy and image of this eternal cosmic mind, like a reflection in a mirror. First of all, and without beginning, is God. Second is the cosmos, made in his likeness. As the cosmos is a second God, it is also an immortal being, because everything in the cosmos is a part of the cosmos. It is impossible that any part of it should die. The cosmos is all life, from its first foundations. There has never existed a single thing which was not alive. There is not, and has never been, and never will be, anything in the cosmos that is dead. God is light, and everlasting source of energy, the eternal dispenser of life itself. Once energy has been dispensed, its supply is governed by eternal cosmic laws. The cosmos has its being within the eternal energy, from which all life issues. So it is impossible for it to ever stop or be destroyed. It is contained and bound together by the eternal life force. The cosmos dispenses this life to all the things within it. It has a twofold movement. Energy is infused into the cosmos from eternity, and in it infuses life into all things within it. Mind and soul are manifestations of light and life. Everything moves by the power of soul. The body of the cosmos, within which all bodies are contained, is completely saturated with soul. The soul is entirely illuminated by the mind. Mind is totally permeated by God. The soul fills and encompasses the whole body of the cosmos. It gives life to the great and perfect living creature, which is the cosmos, which in turn gives life to all the lesser living creatures it contains. The cosmos is the whole, which generates and nourishes the parts, like a parent caring for its children. It receives its supply of goodness from God, and it is this goodness which is the true power of creation. The cosmos is the image of God, and since God is all goodness, the cosmos is also good. Any thoughts? Any questions on that chapter? It was quite a short one.
Yes, I just wanted to comment. Since God is eternal and the cosmos is eternal, and we are part of both, would that mean that we are in some way eternal?
Yes, I think hermeticism does pertain to that idea, and that is expressed in a later chapter. Yes, so it's basically saying if the cosmos reality is a reflection of the eternal creator, God, and thus the cosmos is eternal in of itself, there is no death, it is a constant life, then we too can be eternal. And of course the question will become, well, things die physically. That's true. But in a hermetic, spiritual, metaphysical sense, the body may die, but your soul will live on. But even then, you can go to the point, well, a physical body, expires, but life still exists in a way, because what happens to the body? The body decomposes. It becomes a part of the natural world again. It feeds new life in a sense. So from that, you can see that there is always a continuation of life. Death is just a small component of the far larger element of life, if you will. That's what I think this chapter is trying to express.
Yeah, I think it's easy to see why this might have been likened to, this Platonic element of fire, or maybe it's been a later attribution, but the permanent part of the individual that exists regardless of everything else, even regardless of death and so on. Kind of soul, or the Kabbalistic multiple fold soul, right? Where the highest part is also kind of a permanent thing. Yeah, it's interesting. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if we are God and we are the cosmos, like, what is the separation between all of these? Like, why is it that I see from the eyes and not of the eyes of the cosmos, or that gap that exists?
That's a good question. Funnily, a lot of these kind of questions are answered throughout the tome, so I kind of want
Oh yeah,
to kind of
that's
spoil
fair.
things. But you have a good question.
Will
No,
we hear about
definitely.
that tonight, possibly?
I believe so. It is possible.
All right,
Just
thank
have a
you.
good 30
Maybe
minutes.
not. It might be the next Wednesday.
Okay, I'll have to make
Depending on
that.
time.
Bubble, yeah, you had a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, like, in lieu of a long answer, that there are definitely people who think that you can see in that way. I was just going to say that.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we'll definitely get to that sooner or later, that kind of stuff. All right.
I was going to say, Kabbalistically speaking, it reminds me a lot of like the Ein Sof Or, like the limitless light. Is Mike picking up this time?
Yeah, got that. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I think it's definitely trying to lay out some kind of a cosmology at that level of abstraction, or whatever you want to call that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the authors and translators had this to say about this chapter. In the beginning, there is unity. Unity separates into two fundamental forces, which, like the negative and positive poles of a battery, generate everything. Hermes describes them as light and life, which becomes mind and soul. We experience them as thoughts and feelings. The oneness of God is both light and life. These two focuses are the parents of the mind of the cosmos. This was experienced by Hermes in his original mystical vision as the Word, which calmed the dark waters, the fundamental laws of nature which bring order to the chaos. The physical cosmos is a perfect reflection of this ordering principle. The mind of the cosmos. The mind of the cosmos, the Word, is in turn a reflection of God, just as a spoken word reflects the intention of its speaker. Since God is all goodness, the cosmos is therefore all good. Because the cosmos is made in the image of its creator, it too is an immortal living being. It is therefore impossible that any part of it can be dead. As its conception, it was filled with energy, which as modern science has now proved can neither be created nor destroyed. Unlike the myriad forms that it passes through, energy itself is immortal. God is the source of this energy, which, through the laws of nature, create life. The cosmic mind receives energy from God and gives it to all the beings within the cosmos. Through this process, the cosmos is completely saturated with soul, the life force. Everything in it is alive, nothing is dead. Not even so-called inanimate things. The cosmos is a great living being, which in turn gives life to all, the lesser beings it contains. It is the whole which nourishes its parts, like a parent caring for its children. So the next chapter, chapter 6, is the Circle of Time. That is page 43. In this chapter, Hermes explores the nature of time and change. In a sense, the cosmos is changeless, because its motions are determined by unalterable laws, which cause it to revolve eternally, without beginning and an end. Its parts manifest, disappear, and are created anew again and again, in the undulating pulse of time. Through the process of time, life within the cosmos is regulated and maintained. Time renews all things in the cosmos by the circling process of change, measured by the heavenly bodies returning to their former positions as they revolve around the heavens. The present issues from the past, and the future from the present. Everything is made one by this continuity. Time is like a circle, where all of the points are so linked that you cannot say where it begins or ends. For all points both precede and follow one another forever. Yet there is an even deeper understanding. The past has departed and no longer is. The future has not yet arrived and is yet to be. Even the present does not last. So how can it be said to exist when it doesn't stay still for a moment? Any thoughts or questions on that chapter?
All right. Well, I was just thinking that, there are some philosophies that would say that the past doesn't exist because, well, that's just gone, but the future doesn't exist because it's just a possibility, it's just a thought. And now we're realizing that the present can't exist either because it doesn't stay still for even a moment. Like, even when I began this sentence, it's not that time anymore. So from that perspective, what exactly of time is even real to begin with?
It's a good question. Well, there it is. It's that understanding that the time just becomes a understanding of what's happening, but ultimately it's just another part of the continued oneness and eternity. It's all just part of the one big theme, it's a big oneness. Time is just a component of that, but when you come to a deeper understanding of it, you realize that it doesn't really exist. It's all just part of it at once. So it kind of blends in.
I'd like to offer a couple answers to that, and that is that one possible answer is that there isn't really time. There's just shifting perspective. If everything exists in a higher dimensional matrix, so to speak, like I sometimes think of everything as being sort of like a giant, I don't know how many dimensional crystal, and maybe the crystal itself is rotating. That represents all of existence, all pasts and futures that are possible, or maybe it's just your perspective that's rotating through it. so you only see a slice of it at a time. And then the other thing is that in a lot of more Eastern traditions, there's the idea of process ontologies as opposed to object ontologies. It's like a lot of Western traditions, they focus on these are the elements, these are the things there are, you have this many things or whatever. And then a lot of Eastern traditions, to generalize, have more of a process ontology where things are thought of more so as verbs rather than nouns. And in that sense, nothing really exists in the sense of objects, but they all exist in the sense of them as being things that are happening. So like time maybe is not an object, but it is a thing that keeps going. Maybe thing is the wrong word.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'd like to kind of respond to what Queen said there, like that the time, it could be related to the like isolated perspectives of the individual. Like it could just be another facet of that separation from the universe, whatever that is.
Okay. I'll read what the translators have to say about this chapter. So, everything in the cosmos is constantly changing. Things are born, pass away, and come into existence again. Like old plants die in each winter to return as new shoots each spring. All these changes, however, are governed by unchanging natural laws. In this way, therefore, it could also be said that the cosmos is essentially changeless. Time regulates the natural process of change and the cosmos. It is measured by the recurring cycles of the stars and the sun, which revolve in a fixed and permanent orbits. Unlike our modern picture of time as a straight line from past to future, Hermes sees time as a circle. We too actually measure time in circles. However, a day is a circle of time which begins again when the sun rises each morning. The year is a circle of time measured by the Earth's orbit around the sun. Vaster circles of time are expressed by the movements of the constellations of the stars. All of these cycles eventually bring things back to where they started. It is impossible to say where that is, however, for a circle has no starting point. You cannot say when it begins or where it ends. Hermes ultimately points to a deeper understanding of time. The past is gone and does not exist. The future has yet to happen and does not exist. The present moment passes so quickly that it has no permanence. Before we have even said now, the moment is gone. We can never catch the present, so in what way could it be said to exist? This mystical insight into the illusory nature of time is a way to glimpse the oneness of God, who exists beyond time. For God, there is no past, present, and future, only eternity. Freeing ourselves from the illusion of time is yet another way we can experience God. So, I'll go on to the next chapter here, chapter 7, which is page 47. This chapter is on the gods. In this chapter, Hermes discusses the many powers through which God administers creation. So, let's see. The gods. The mind of the cosmos, created from fire and air, the 7 administrators, who regulate destiny, the 5 visible planets, and the sun and the moon, which orbits encompass the world of the senses. These celestial powers, known by thought alone, are called the gods, and they preside over the world. They are ruled over by the goddess Destiny, who transforms everything according to the law of natural growth, creating from the permanent, unchanging reality a permanently changing world. The heavenly bodies are governed by God, and from them flows into matter an uninterrupted stream of soul. Matter is like a fertile womb, within which all things are conceived. All forms shape matter, and soul energy ceaselessly changes them, one into another. This process is directed by God, who infuses each form with soul in proportion to its standing in the scale of being. The earth is the storehouse of all matter, which it donates and, in return, receives life from above. Ra, the sun god, unites heaven and earth, sending down energy from above and raising up matter from below. He draws life into himself and gives forth life from himself, ceaselessly lavishing light on all. The sun benefits not only heaven, but even the hidden depths of the earth. Unlike God, the hidden light, who is only known in thought through attentive contemplation, the sun exists in space and time, and we may see him with our eyes, shining the brightest in the cosmos, placed in the center and wearing the cosmos like a wreath around him. He lights up above and below. He lets the cosmos go on its way, but never lets it wander, for, like a skillful chariot rider, the sun has tied the cosmos to him, preventing it from rushing off in disorder, and his controlling reins are the rays of light. The sun is an image of the Creator, who is higher than the heavens. Just as that supreme Creator gave life to the whole universe, the sun gives life to the animals and plants. His material body is the source of visible light, and, if there be such a thing as substance, not perceptible to the senses, the light of the sun must contain that substance. Yet, what is it or how it flows? Only God knows. The sun continuously pours forth light and life. The sun nurtures all vegetation, gathering the first fruits, produced by the power of his rays, as if in his mighty hands, bringing our sweet perfumes from the plants. In the same way, our souls, like heavenly flowers, are nurtured by the light of God's wisdom, and in return we should use in his service all that grows within us. Any thoughts on that? Questions?
It just seems pretty obvious that like it's energy gods, right? If the power and light that gives life to Earth is God, God is like energy now. In like a really modern perspective. Just
yeah, exactly. It expresses the physical kind of operation of the sun. The sunlight gives life to things on Earth, and Hermes prescribes that to kind of being also a reflection of God, as he says, God is the hidden light, and the sun is the revealed light. So they operate in the same way.
I actually did have a small comment on that and how that ties sort of into the theory of relativity, which says energy equals mc squared. And what that really means is that energy is everything is made out of energy. Even matter is made out of energy because matter is just energy that's moving slowly. And thus, if everything is already made of this energy, don't we already have a scientific basis for believing in God?
You can make that argument. You can make that argument. So I would agree with you personally.
I do think that the kind of God that supports is not a lot of the more common ideas of what God are.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I think in one of our previous meetings on Hermetica, Bubble mentioned a word before that I really liked a lot, something like a mathematical construct, maybe even. And it also goes to what Nuka-Cola was saying earlier, some super abstract level of God, which we've been discussing pretty much throughout the whole text so far, which is pretty interesting to see that now, all of a sudden, there's not just one source God anymore. There's different aspects, different gods, so like the cosmology gets built out further. And I'm inclined to agree with Bubble, that there's language used here which might not be very obviously deep. It's easily misinterpreted as dogmatic language, but if you try reading between the lines here, it might be like what Halsera said, something like abstract metaphysics or something along those lines. I think that's an interesting thing to take into account. Cheers.
I will go and read the commentary on this chapter from the translators. So, to the ancient Egyptians, the night sky was seen as the body of the black goddess sprinkled with stars. In the Hermetica, she is known as the great goddess Destiny, whose unalterable laws are written in the unchanging star fields of the constellations. Against the background of these stars circle the planets. Ruled by the great goddess, they administer her fate to all things upon the earth. Although the constellations of the stars contain the destiny of everything, the 5 visible planets and the sun and the moon are the forces which administer this destiny. Hermes therefore calls these powers gods. Destiny, working through the planetary gods, governs all of creation. They pour an uninterrupted stream of life force into all forms of matter, making them ceaselessly change from one state to another in a process we call living and dying. The gods are ruled by the goddess Destiny, who makes sure that all they do accords with God's will. The god Ra is the sun, which sends down energy to the earth, while God is the hidden light, which cannot be seen with the physical eyes because it is pure energy. Ra is the visible light placed in the center of our solar system. The sun is an image of God, and as God gives life to the whole universe, so does the sun give life to animals and plants of the earth. The light of the sun nurtures nature in the same way that the light of God nurtures our souls. Okay. Now I will go on to 8th chapter, and this one is quite short, so we could probably stretch it, get another one in there, so bear with me. But this one is the hierarchy of creation. That's chapter 8 on page 53. In this chapter, Hermes summarizes these teachings on the way in which God creates and maintains the cosmos, and all that it contains. God creates the cosmic mind creates the cosmos creates time, time creates change. The essence of God is primal goodness. The essence of the cosmic mind is a permanent sameness. The essence of the cosmos is beautiful order, and the essence of time is movement, and the essence of change is life. God works through mind and soul. The cosmic mind works through immortality and duration. The cosmos works through turning and returning. Time works through increase and decrease. Change works through quality and quantity. The cosmic mind is in God. The cosmos is in eternity. Change is in time. Time is in the cosmos. Cosmic mind is permanently connected to God. The cosmos is made up of thoughts in the cosmic mind. The cosmic mind is an image of God. The cosmos is an image of the cosmic mind. The sun is an image of the cosmos. Man is an image of the sun. So, another short one, but are there any thoughts or questions?
I was just thinking about how that whole man is in the image of the sun. That correlates to something in science now where they're saying that all the materials that make up a human being came from stardust, so we can see, again, parallels in this mystical thought and in what science is telling us now.
Well, yes, exactly. I mean, you could also say, they say material components, ourselves, are made off of like stardust. How is this any different from the idea that, from dust to dust, God created man out of mud and dust, and then when we die, we return to that dust? It's the same way of
Exactly.
thinking. So, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And this last chapter does express that. What is good about this chapter is it is kind of just Hermes kind of just like tying it all up. He's like, right, this is what it is. Here is the structure or hierarchy of the kind of the cosmos, of creation. And the image of the sun, man is made in the image of the sun is made in the image of the cosmos is made in the image of who? God. Man is made in the image of God. It goes back to an idea that is not only expressed in Hermeticism, but I would say from a wide range of mystical traditions, is to understand the universe, you should understand your own body. You understand your own body, you can understand the universe. And that could be expressed in a manner of things, a manner of systems and traditions and philosophies, etc. So it's definitely food for thought.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to add, it's interesting, you know, there are many Hermetic purists who argue very much against the later coined Hermetic principles, you know, being present in this text. But in this chapter, you're being smacked around the head with them pretty much, you know, and it's also, again, interesting to see the likeness to the sun mentioned, especially because, you know, if the sun has some kind of an interaction with these planetary forces, then it means so do we, right? By this last particular little paragraph there.
I was also thinking about how, you know, the night sky is like this goddess destiny, and through the planets we can see the destiny of everyone. And I'm just thinking, wait a minute, that's astrology. He's just describing the basis for how astrology works.
Absolutely. Bingo. Bingo. You got it. That's it.
Yeah, and then astrology also explains reality and its archetypes and all its mechanics, right? In a symbolic way, or should at least.
And like you were saying with the Kabbalistic tree of life, you know, because the cosmic mind really lines up like Keter, and you know the whole thing was actually lining up very well with the Kabbalistic tree of life. I was noting that down as I was listening.
Did you pick out any particulars, Nuka?
Yeah, like I was saying, because like the cosmic mind that it was talking about, you know, being in the image of God, you know, that's like, because they were talking about the God being, you know, the Ein Sof Or, you know, so the limitless light, which then emanates out Keter, which is, you know, the cosmic mind, and you know that is, you know, the part that they were saying, you know, is I think the term that you used earlier was bisexual, or you know, just neuter between the masculine and feminine. And then, you know, just everything that it's been saying very much lines up with the tree of life.
Yeah, for sure. That's interesting. I didn't get the time to actually count in this chapter, but I'm curious to see what number system is going on in this list again.
So I will go over quickly the commentary on this chapter, and then we'll get on to the next one. So God creates an order in principle. The mind of the cosmos. This order in principle continually organizes chaotic matter into a beautifully ordered physical cosmos. Time is one of the principles by which the cosmos is ordered. The existence of time means that everything within the cosmos is constantly changing, but in a measured way. God is the goodness that creates life. The mind of the cosmos is the fundamental laws of nature, the permanent and unchanging principles which govern life. The physical cosmos is the beautiful order of nature within which life exists. Time is the governing principle of the cosmos, which produces change. Constant change is the process of everything living and dying. The cosmic mind is an idea expressed by the mind of God. The physical cosmos is a thought expressed by the mind of the cosmos. At the heart of the cosmos is the life-giving sun, which is an image of the life-giving soul at the heart of every person. Now, the next chapter is chapter 9, which is page 57. This will probably be the last chapter we read tonight, but will probably be a good cliffhanger for the next session next week. So this is the creation of humankind. Having discussed the principles by which God created the cosmos, in this chapter, Hermes describes the making of mankind. When the Creator, who for want of a better name we call God, had made the second God, which is the cosmos, he was pleased. His creation was beautiful and wholly filled with goodness, and he loved it like his child. In his kindness, God wished for there to be a creature capable of appreciating the beauty of his creation. So, by an act of will, he created humankind to be an imitator of his divine wisdom and nurturing love. God asked each heavenly god in turn, "What can you provide for humanity, which I am about to create?" The sun said it would shine all day, providing laughter as a source of joy for both mortal minds and the boundless universe itself. The moon promised sleep and silence, and to shine by night. Saturn offered justice and necessity. Jupiter gave peace, and Mars struggle. Venus preferred love and pleasure. Mercury, who is also called Hermes, said, I will make humankind intelligent. I will convey to them wisdom and knowledge of the truth. I will never cease to benefit all humanity. God was glad when he heard these words, and gave the command that man should come into being. Mind, the All-Father, who is life and light, gave birth to humanity, which bore his own image, and he took delight in his offspring, joined to the gods by a sense of kingship. Humanity worshipped them with piety and holy thoughts, while for their part the gods watch over humankind with concern and loving mercy. At first man was solely eternal and spiritual, but Atum, God, saw that his new creation could not tend the earth unless he sheltered him in a material envelope, giving man a mortal body as well as an immortal soul. So God bade nature be, and from his voice came a woman's form, so lovely that the gods were smitten with her beauty. God made nature mistress of the world. She communed with herself, producing all kinds of seeds, which God took hold of within his hands and scattered over the earth. Who is the mother of all worldly things, seeing in a man a beautiful image of God? Nature was filled with an insatiable love. She clasped him to her, and they merged to become one in love, mortal and eternal, blended and mingled, so that man may perform the demands of both sources of his nature. Firstly, to serve God, venerating and praising the things of earth. Secondly, to assist and administer the things of earth by tilling the soil, navigating the waters, building on the land, and by serving each other. That strongest of bonds that links the human race together. Then God, the master of generation, bestowed on humankind the sacrament of reproduction, full of affection and joy, gladness and yearning, and all the heavenly love that is his being. I would have to explain the nature of this compelling sacred bond that binds a man and woman together, were it not that each of us, if we explore our innermost feelings, can experience it for ourselves. Contemplate that supreme moment when each sex infuses itself with the other, one giving forth and the other eagerly embracing. At that moment, through the intermingling of the two natures, the female acquires the male vigor, and the man is relaxed in the female languor. This sweet sacramental act we celebrate is shared in secret, because if performed openly before impure eyes, the ignorant may mock, and the divine power manifesting in both sexes will shy away. Any thoughts and questions on this chapter?
So you were talking about keeping the count on everything for the Kabbalistically speaking by bringing in all of the planetary intelligences. Yeah, he definitely just brought it up to the rest of the tree.
That's
Being
sweet.
filled out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the description of Mother Nature. It evokes the image of the Empress card in the tarot very much. That's my thought.
Yes, I agree. Any more questions or thoughts from anyone?
Oh, I was just thinking to myself, maybe instead of asking like why is the universe separate, I should have been asking like why is it like brought together, the embrace and the giving. Like perhaps that's like a better question to ask, is what holds it all together would explain why there's separation. And I don't know. I touched on that.
Well, that's a good. I see where you're coming from. There's the creation, then there's a separation, then there's a rejoining, and then there's a separation. And the cycle continues and it continues. It gets more obviously philosophy there, but it's a good way to see it in a romantic sense. Why do these things separate and join together? Why does all this happen? Why is there this great scheme? Why anything? Maybe in a way that the Hermetica puts it forth, it's very poetic. It's the way we could see it is like some great story that we play a part in. We are simply a component of this great story. We play a part in it. Go on, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say that I rather enjoyed the part where God had created man in order to gaze upon his creation and know that it was good, but then he gave us temporary mortal bodies so that we may tend to it for a bit, but immortal souls so that we can return to our true nature at the end of our task. And that just made me think of the old saying that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience, but rather we are spiritual beings that are having a human experience.
Yes, that quote sums it up brilliantly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think to wrap this all up, I will finish that with the commentary. So, the writers write, God created humankind because he wanted there to be a creature capable of appreciating the great beauty of his cosmos. He asks each of the gods who administer the cosmos to provide something to benefit humanity. The sun gives joy, the moon gives sleep, Saturn offers the limits of necessity and the balancing force of justice. Jupiter gives peace and Mars gives struggle. Venus offers love and Mercury wisdom. When God hears that the gods will offer, he thinks humankind into existence. At first, humanity is just a thought, a soul. It is unable to tend and look after the earth as God wishes. So God gives each human a mortal body within which to house the immortal soul. To do this, he first creates nature. She is like a beautiful woman, and God makes her mistress of the world. She produces the seeds of natural life, seeing in the human soul an image of God. Nature falls in love and merges with her beloved. This is the blending of body and soul, which produces each one of us. Hence, all human beings have a dual nature. We honor both sides of our nature when we serve God by administering the natural world for him. Finally, God gives humankind a last great gift, the ability to reproduce. More than this, he makes the process a holy, loving sacrament, which reflects the marriage of matter and spirit that creates the cosmos. The sacred bond of love unites man and woman together so that they may share their essential qualities with each other. That's so.
Let's
Any
do
more
maybe
thoughts on that
one more
last
round
bit?
of thoughts or questions maybe, if anybody has them, because I do feel, if I may start that off, that there is a lot in these chapters that we just went through, and it's kind of hard for me to really, at the speed we're going, pick up on everything that's between the lines. So I'm definitely going to go over these chapters again just to see what else is there, because I think there's really a lot in between all this beautiful poetry we just had.
Yeah, that's kind of the beauty of it. You do need to sit down and contemplate it and dig deeper into it. That's what it wants you to do. That's its goal, really. It tells you this idea, this way of looking at things, and it wants you to delve into it and peer into it. Okay.
I was just commenting on how about how yeah, we do need to contemplate on a lot of this multiple times, and that's a big reason why this is being recorded right now, and that's so we can look over this again.
For
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. Yeah, please do watch over it. Yeah.
Also, highly recommend picking apart the text itself, though, because it's always a different medium than video. They don't do the same thing, I would say. Just putting that in your thought jar. Do it however you like.
Yeah, I'd like to ask your feelings on the. I keep pronouncing this book wrong. The Kabbalion, I believe it's called. I know a lot of people who practice and study Hermeticism say, "Oh no, that's not real Hermeticism. That's just new thought mangling it." Well, some absolutely swear by the Kabbalion. So I was wondering what your thoughts are on it.
Me personally, I see both points of that. It isn't a an original hermetic work. It is kind of recent. It's quite modern, but it is a good way of introducing hermeticism because it is clearly expressed by the three initiates who claim to have written it. They are clearly versed in hermeticism and alchemy, so they do know what they're talking about. So the Kabbalion still is, in my opinion, a valuable piece of hermetic work. Just because it was written in recent times doesn't make it less important than the original works or earlier works of hermetic thought. So I think it's a valuable piece of literature. I wouldn't say depend on it solely. Like don't just rely on that one book, but have it part of the body of hermetic work, the Corpus Hermeticum at large, definitely. So I think it's a valuable book, and it's the 7 hermetic principles that the Kabbalion puts forth. You can see clearly represented in original hermetic works. So I think that it's still a legitimate hermetic work in my opinion, and it should be studied.
I just wanted to say on the subject of the Kabbalion, I find myself constantly referring to things in a sense of duality, and in that sense I find that the 7th principle, the principle of gender, is an incredibly useful tool for understanding the universe and just how neatly everything seems to be able to be divided into just 2 halves, and it's helped me come to this conclusion that Descartes was correct about duality, that there is a duality that makes up nature, but he was wrong in that it's not body and mind, it's mind and spirit. And I'd been working on this mind-spirit theory, and then, we have the Corpus Hermeticism, and Hermes is all like, I am way ahead of you on that. And I'm like, oh, damn.
Well, remember with duality though, and the 7 principles in the Kabbalion states this. A better way of duality is the understanding of polarity. Duality can normally kind of insinuate 2 forces against each other, whereas polarity and the principle of gender, which in itself is kind of an extension of the principle of polarity, is that they're different. All things are the one same thing, but they are different degrees of each other. So hot and cold are not 2 dualistic forces against each other, but through Hermeticism we understand that they are ultimately the same thing. So thus, once you understand they are the same thing, it becomes way easier to change them from those 2 conditions, from hot to cold to cold to hot. So yes, you're correct in what you're saying. But when it comes to duality, I think it's better to understand things as polarity. I think that, for me personally, I would say that's much better than the idea of dualism myself. But yeah, if there is no other questions or thoughts, I'll wrap this up. So thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. It would be great to see you guys here again next Wednesday. If you can't make that one, it will be recorded, I imagine, so you can see it. And if you want to watch this again, then feel free to check it out on YouTube. It'll be on YouTube soon. So be sure to check that out. If you want to see what kind of work I do outside of VR Mystery School, I have a few things on the internet. I write a little bit, I make music, so I have a link tree. So that would be linktree/ingurdis. If you would want to look into that, please feel free. I would really appreciate that. If you haven't already, join our Discord. Loads of people on there, loads of good discussions, and you can always see new events being posted. And also consider supporting VR Mystery School by donating, supporting the Patreon, or becoming a volunteer. Taru Frog has done a masterful job with this place. He has poured sweat, blood, and tears into this place. So help him out. You know, if you want to get involved, that'll be at vrmystery.school/support if you're interested. And once again, I would like to say thank you for listening and taking part. And feel free to hang out and stuff. People are probably going to hang around and chit chat and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, mingle in the cafe if you want.
I'll be here next Wednesday.
And thank you very much, Ingurdis.
Oh,
It was
you
a great session, dude. Thank you very much again. Lovely stuff.
Thank you.
Looking forward to next week already.
Thank you.
Of course.
Oh, definitely. Especially since there's so many conversations.